In the tech world, there are some terms that are, well, they're a lot more marketing than they are math. And today we're going to tear apart one of the biggest ones, 4K. I'm willing to bet what you think it means isn't the whole story.
All right, so let's just dive right in with the big question. Why on earth do we even call it 4K? You'd think the answer would be simple, right? Well, it's not. And digging into it actually uncovers this really fascinating battle between pure logical engineering and some very clever marketing.
Okay, so to get to the real origin of 4K, we're not starting with your TV or your monitor. Nope, we've actually got to go to the movies.
So here it is, the one true scientific definition of 4K. It comes from the Digital Cinema Initiatives, or DCI for short. And their logic? It's super simple. They just measure the pixels going across, the horizontal width. So 4096 pixels wide, that's roughly 4,000, or 4 kilo pixels. That's it, end of story, just pure simple math.
But here's the twist. While the cinema world was busy counting pixels from side to side, the TVs and computer monitors in our homes, they were evolving on a totally separate track, with a whole different way of thinking about resolution.
See, for consumer tech, the logic wasn't about width at all. It was all about multiplication, specifically multiplying the surface area. Engineers would literally take an existing standard and just quadruple it. So you take a 720p HD screen, you multiply its total pixels by 4, and boom, you get Quad HD. You do the exact same thing with a 1080p Full HD screen, and what do you get? Quad Full HD.
So that screen you're probably calling 4K right now, it already had a perfectly good, technically correct engineering name, Quad Full HD, or QFHD. You could also just call it 2160p based on its vertical pixel count. Simple, right?
So if the real name was QFHD, what happened? How do we get to 4K? Well, this is the part of the story where we leave the engineering department and walk straight into the marketing department. This, my friends, is the heist.
The reason for this whole switcheroo was, you guessed it, purely commercial. I mean, think about it. QFHD. It's just a clunky mouthful of letters. It's confusing. And 2160p, while totally accurate, doesn't exactly sound like a massive upgrade from the 1080p everyone already owned. It just wasn't sexy. It wasn't going to sell millions and millions of new screens.
And this is where the genius, or, the deception, really happens. The marketing teams looked at the consumer screen width, 3840 pixels, and said, hey, that's pretty close to the cinema's 4096. So they just took the name, they stole 4K, but here's the critical part. They completely changed what it meant. The 4 didn't mean 4,000 pixels wide anymore. Nope. Now it meant 4 times the surface area of a Full HD screen.
This is it. This is the single most important thing to remember. For you, the person buying the TV or monitor, that 4 in 4K does not mean 4,000 pixels wide. It means your screen has the exact same surface area as 4 1080p Full HD screens, all stitched together into one.
Now, this little marketing trick has some very real-world consequences. On the plus side, you get a massive amount of screen real estate. It's awesome. But the downside? On a typical monitor, say 27 inches, the pixels are packed in so tightly the text can become almost unreadable without using software scaling to blow it up. And honestly, that's why a lot of pros and gamers still swear by QHD or 1440p. It's kind of the perfect sweet spot between having lots of space and actually being able to read what's on your screen.
All right, so now let's look at the fallout. Let's see how this one single marketing decision created a huge domino effect that completely shattered any sense of logic for every resolution that came after it.
Just take a look at this. It's kind of wild. 2K. Okay, that makes sense as a nickname for Full HD since 1920 is pretty close to 2,000 pixels wide. Check. And 4K, well, thanks to that marketing trick, it cleverly works for both the width logic and their new surface area logic. But then we get to 8K, and the whole system just completely falls apart. And here is the absolute contradiction. The name 8K jumps right back to the original cinema logic. Its width is about 8,000 pixels. Fine. But it totally ignores the 4 times the surface logic that marketing invented to sell us 4K in the first place. If they were being consistent, they'd have to call it something else. Because an 8K screen isn't 8 times anything. It's 16 times the surface area of a Full HD screen.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this one simple, unavoidable truth. The names we use for our screen resolutions aren't driven by consistent math.
They're not driven by sound engineering principles. They're driven by one thing: what sounds good on the side of a box at the store.
Which brings us to one last fun, logical puzzle for you. If the marketing folks sold us 4K by defining the 4 as 4 times the Full HD's surface area, what should they have logically called 8K?